expanding our definition of sex means expanding our vocabulary around what erotic energy is, what sexual energy is, how you experience it.
Welcome to Sex and the Solo Girl. Join your host, her inner circle, and expert guests weekly for chats about dating, secure attachment, the solo lifestyle, doing relationships differently, and of course, sex. And here's your host, Janice Formichella.
Welcome to another episode of Sex and the Solo Girl, and to a very special episode because I don't do quote unquote interviews all of the time. I have lots of my friends come on and have kind of juicy girl talk and friend talk. I've got a couple male friends who come on. Everybody, please be paying attention to the dating Q&A with Brian and Janice. That's been a very popular series so far. But today I have Patty Alfonso on to talk to us about something that I will be learning about as the interview progresses today, and that is erotic innocence. The two from the outward, at surface level or on paper, the two would seem to perhaps clash, right? Mm-hmm. Erotic and innocence, or eroticism and innocence. So I'm really, really looking forward to this. And welcome to the show, Patty.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's been a journey, so I'm glad that we finally made it.
So I actually reached out to Patty quite a while ago, many months ago, if not more, because I am very interested, and one of my goals for the year / long-term career-wise is to become an Erotic Blueprints coach. And so I was looking to network with some other women in the space, and Patty and I had some friends in common, and you were very clever to put on your profile that you are an Erotic Blueprints coach. And so, just doing my thing, decided to reach out. And I'm very glad that I did, because I'm getting connected in the space, partially because of this. And then I decided I wanted to have her on the podcast, and it has been life getting in the way for the last few months.
It is life getting away, and I love our persistence. Mm-hmm. When you have a goal or something that you want to accomplish, it doesn't really matter what life throws in the way, as long as you keep moving towards that goal, and eventually it gets completed. And here we are, and I'm super excited for our conversation, especially around erotic innocence, which is like my favorite.
I would have never even thought to ask you about this, or even thought that this was a thing. So I'm really excited. And also, just come to think of it, on a personal level, maybe it's better now that we're deepening our connection, because I'm in much more of a place to dive a little bit more into the training and things. So things just really work out.
You know what? It is always in divine timing. Mm-hmm. Always. Maybe when we first connected, neither of us could have that conversation in that moment, and something has opened up for us to be able to be talking about this now. So
Before we really get into it, I would like you to kind of briefly introduce, what do you think the essence of what you do is? And then please let everyone know about your wonderful website, or anywhere else you would like them to come and hang out with you online.
Thank you so much. I love that. What is the essence of you? That no one's ever asked me that in that way. So I really appreciate that. And I would say that the essence of me today, right now, lives in the world of being an erotic priestess. I have been playing and loving and healing bodies for 20 years. I just have a real deep love for embodiment, for being in our bodies, for being on this planet, for enjoying life, for finding pleasure. And so I work with people in that realm of sensuality and sexuality, and now bringing in the sacred, which I'm super excited about as an evolution to my work. I'm known to some as the orgasmic body whisperer. I'm known to others as an erotic priestess, a lot of names that I claim, but don't label myself to get stuck in those labels, you know? So I mostly work with women, but I also work with men. And again, just inviting people into the joy of having a body, of being in a body on this planet. And, you know, whether it's relationships or sex or, you know, wherever we go, it's all about just the pleasures of having a body.
Oh, yeah. And if anybody's curiosity was piqued when Patty mentioned Erotic Priestess, don't worry, we will be talking about that closer to the end of the episode, because I'm very in tune with my intuition, and when I come across something that really has me feel the turn on, which I think you're probably familiar with that terminology, I go towards it, which is why I became interested in the Erotic Blueprints, because the first time someone told me about it, I was like, I need to learn more. And when I heard also the term Erotic Priestess, I had the same feeling, you know, in my chest. So we will talk about that. Thank you. And where can people find you online? And then we're going to dive into the importance of pleasure.
Thank you. Let's dive in. PattyAlfonso.com is my website. And yes, thank you. And that's really where everything lives at the moment. And you can find my social media through that and enjoy the journey.
Yes, please go and say hi. It's a really fun website. And all right. So thank you so much for that, Patty. And thank you for everything that you're doing for women and people and for yourself, because also when we embody these things, we inspire others to do the same. So you mentioned pleasure. That is a big part of Sex and the Solo Girl, is incorporating that into your life. So in a nutshell, why do you believe that pleasure is so important?
Yeah, you know, my mentors speak of pleasure being our birthright. It is something that is inherently available to us because we have a body. And I think pleasure is a different word that we can use to describe eros, eroticism, you know, orgasmic living, which is part of the work that I do. And I think the reason it's important is because it is life force energy. Like the energy of pleasure, the energy of orgasms, the energy of eroticism, it's an energy that is healing for your body, that is healing for the planet, that is healing for the people that are around you. So when you can live your life based on finding pleasure in everything, there's an energy that you emanate from your body. There's an energy that you emanate that is a gift to everyone around you. So it's like to me, it's the most important thing. We're so trained to look for pain and to look for what's wrong. And like, that's just a rabbit hole that takes you nowhere. And I am all about like growth and expansion and creation and creativity, and pleasure. It's part of it. It lives in that realm.
And you can really tell when you're going about in your day, the women who are kind of in our club and, and those who haven't found us yet. Thank you so much for that. And it is a way of being and a way of life. And this is why I want to get more into this work, is there is a learning curve if you haven't heard these things before, or if you're not used to living this way. And I really want to help other people find it.
Yeah, I mean, look, for people listening, look around. When you see a person who is just glowing from the inside, they are living a life of pleasure. If you see a person that is contracted and dull and there's not a lot of energy, then they're living a life in pain and suffering and struggle. Not that either of those are right or wrong. And we do have to learn how to cultivate pleasure, because it's not what we were taught. And it is a practice, right? That
it
once
is.
you kind of wake up to it, then you're like, oh, how can I cultivate pleasure in this moment? How can I create pleasure in this moment for myself? And again, that energy, that radiance, that aliveness, it comes from pleasure.
I mean, even the way that we're both dressed, I'm wearing more constrictive clothing, but I'm happy with how my hair is and my earrings, and these things make me feel confident. Patty is wearing very sensual, textured clothing right now, which I know you probably selected because it feels good to you.
Absolutely, because I'm sitting here, just like rubbing on my little, thing here, which is very, very soft. And to the point that I was making, you're in pleasure in your constricted clothing. You're in the pleasure of that constriction. That is available. That is possible. So pleasure, I think, also has to be undefined. Mm-hmm.
When did you first begin to be tuned into this, or when was the first time that you experienced the turn on when it comes to either these concepts, this way of being? Tell me a little bit about your personal journey.
Thank you. So I was in energy healing school.
Okay.
I live in Los Angeles, so this is very common here in LA.
Gotcha.
I was in energy healing school, and part of our certification program was to find a movement practice. And I'm sure that they thought I would do yoga or qigong or something like that. But because I am who I am, I ended up in S Factor's pole dancing classes in sensual feminine movement. And I remember my first introduction class, as I looked at the teacher doing this demonstration, my whole body lit up. Now, prior to that, I was aware that there was something that I was missing in my life, but I didn't know what it was. I was like, something's off, something's missing. And when I introduced S Factor and sensual feminine movement and pole dancing, it unlocked something in my body. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is what I've been missing. That like primal sexual aliveness, that sexual energy that is available because we have a body. So that's where it started. And 20 years later, like you mentioned, now I'm an erotic blueprint coach, and now I'm initiating into being an erotic priestess. And so that journey was really about going inward into my body. I had spent a lot of my life just disconnected, living from the head up. Mm-hmm. And S Factor was the beginning of bringing myself deeply, deeply into my body, connected to my entire body, and finding pleasure in that.
You're working with clients one-on-one. You are out there in the world, like preaching the good word. So a lot of people, when they think of personal development, might not automatically go to S Factor, the Erotic Blueprints, self-pleasure. Why would you say that eroticism specifically is such an effective portal for personal growth?
Yeah, I love that you bring this up, because that is true. So let me ground and focus into how I want to respond. Mm-hmm. It's interesting because you're right. In personal development, this is almost like the last place that people go to. It's the last rock, the last stone unturned that people go to when it comes to healing. The reason I think, and this ties into being an erotic priestess, the reason I think it's like the number one most important, it's because it includes your body, right? It includes Eros, life force energy, right? And it also includes the divine, because it's all of those three pieces together where you can create the most amount of healing quickly. And the divine, you mentioned earlier, like following your pussy. To me, that's the divine, right? That's the divine in you. Expressing and speaking. So when you can include all of those things on your journey, the healing is going to be much faster. If you're just trying to do therapy, which is the mind and the stories and the thinking, you're only going to get so far, if you're just doing, like physical working out, let's say, if that's just it, then you're only going to get so far in your personal development. If you're just like focusing on eating organic or working out every day, that's one piece. That's just one piece. So this arena of including the body and including sex in your healing is it includes everything. It's more holistic, in my opinion. And so I certainly would not be where I am today if it wasn't for not only including, but using my body's wisdom in my life.
And as a
right?
single person, I know that you are partnered now, but did a lot of your journey was it you as a solo individual?
Yeah. I mean, before my partner, I was single for 6 years. And before that, I had, a 2-year relationship. And before that, I was single for a really long time.
Awesome.
So a lot of my work is about, and in my own personal journey, is about connecting to yourself, right? You really, in order to have a blossoming partnership, each person has to know themselves individually first. What are my likes? What are my dislikes? What works for me? What doesn't work for me? That clarity of self is part of what can create a blooming partnership. If you don't have that clarity of self and then you go into partnership not knowing, how to communicate your desires about sex, or how to communicate how you like to be touched, or how to communicate what you don't like, right? Then you end up in these murky, murky waters and no one is satisfied. So yes, 100% the relationship that you have with yourself as a being, and the relationship that you have with your body, and then obviously the relationship that you have with the divine, whatever that means to you and whatever form that takes for you. I think those are 3 really important components, and the energy of Eros that runs through all of them, the energy of life, the energy of creation, the energy of orgasm, healing, expansion, right? All of those things together make for powerful transformation.
And this is a big theme on the show. I want people to have really great relationships, but I always, always, always say with yourself and others, because it just starts there. It just does. We're going to take a quick commercial break. And then when we come back, drum roll, please. We are going to talk about erotic innocence. What is this, anyways? Everybody stay tuned. I myself am looking forward to knowing this. So we're going to talk about the definitions of eroticism, erotic innocence, and then the erotic priesthood.
There you go.
What is your attachment style? Do you consider yourself anxious, avoidant? Does it maybe change depending on the circumstances? Would you like to become securely attached and learn how to show up as the best version of yourself in all of your relationships? My program, Becoming Securely Attached, is a 3-month intensive designed to help you look at your current patterns and triggers, pinpoint what will most help you work on them, and then intentionally develop an action plan to create new ways of doing things. And I will be there every step of the way. Ooh, and guess what? I just started doing free first sessions to give you a look at how I work and determine if we are a good fit for each other. You can book one using the link in the show notes or just by heading over to janiceformichella.com. Remember, I am always available on Instagram if you want to chat. I look forward to talking with you about becoming securely attached. We're going to dive deeper now into eroticism and in our time here with Patty, who is we got an S Factor coach, we're an Erotic Blueprints coach, we're an Erotic Priestess initiate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
What a way to live. What a way to walk out into the world.
Put that all together into the orgasmic body whisperer.
Yes. Woo, baby. Love it, love it, love it. We're going to slowly work towards the definition of erotic innocence. But first of all, I do know that you wanted to talk about the mainstream definitions of sex and eroticism and why it's important to you that we expand these definitions. So do you want to tell me a bit about that and why this is important for you to touch on?
Yeah. So when we think about the mainstream definitions of sex, that is what we see in our media, in our culture. And it tends to be this very one specific way that sex can happen between bodies, putting body parts together. Friction, lots of friction. Oy, oy, oy. Too much friction sometimes. Lots of friction.
I don't disagree.
Lots of friction. And I'll name for me what I see in the movies, person sees person from across the room, there's a spark, and then cut to they're in the bedroom and they're slammed up against the wall and they're doing it hard. And 2 seconds later it's over. And that's
and you see them both just lying in bed, like with this dazed look on their face.
Right. And that to me, and there's different variations to that. But when I watch movies,
there are, but not very many.
It depends what mainstream means to you, right? So that's what I sort of am looking at in terms of mainstream sex that's out there, what's depicted in the media and magazines and all of that. What was your other part to that question?
So the mainstream definitions of sex and eroticism, which as I think you're saying is what is typically portrayed. Right. I mean, vanilla missionary things that, not the type of intimacy that you and I think of. One thing that I notice in a lot of the mainstream portrayals is people don't look each other in the eye while they're having sex or making love or having penetrative experiences. It's very, and I think porn as well is just kind of some porn, not all of it, very just slam bam, thank you, ma'am, we're done. And like so there's there's so much more available. And in terms of eroticism, I feel like that's a word that is often judged. Not used very often. In some places, obviously, someone like me or other coaches that are in this field use that word regularly. But eroticism, eros, we connect it to sex. But it's also, like I was saying before, just life force energy. To me, it's the energy of the universe. It's the energy that fuels everything. So those are my sort of definitions. Well, even the creation of the world was, this slow, juicy burn. That's how we all got here.
Yeah.
And so how would you most like to see these definitions expanding?
Yeah, so that's actually what I really love about the Erotic Blueprints work is that it, and for those of you that aren't familiar, the easiest way for me to describe it is I'm sure people have heard of the love languages. So for me, the Erotic Blueprints are like the love languages, but about sex.
Yeah, the sexual language. Okay, thank you so much.
Well, yeah, so it's love. This is how I want to be made love to. This is how I like to have sex, right? The love languages are like, this is how I like to be loved. This is what shows me that you love me. So the erotic blueprints are like, this is how I'd like to be touched. This is how I like to be approached. And just really quickly, there's 5: energetic, sensual, sexual, kinky, and shapeshifter. And so in expanding what our definition of sex is, the ability to expand into all of the blueprints. we might identify in one particular blueprint. I would say that what's out there in mainstream media is usually like the sexual blueprint, very focused in the genitals and fast and ready to go and let's get this on. But there's 4 other blueprints available. And so expanding our definition of sex means expanding our vocabulary around what erotic energy is, what sexual energy is, how you experience it. When I do my work with like orgasmic living in that space, it's about finding that energy in every moment of your life, finding that orgasmic energy in what you're eating and what you're wearing, and how the sun caresses your skin, like, and makes it, a little red, or how the wind blows your hair, and how all of that can be orgasmic, which is also a really sensual way of explaining in terms of the blueprint. So I think that, a lot of us in this field are on a mission of expanding what sex means and what it looks like and what it can be. Whether it's by yourself or with a partner or with multiple partners, that part is up to you. So just redefining what all of this is, and removing the stigma and going beyond the judgment of what's available with your body.
It's like a reclamation of something
Yes.
that is the most pure in all of us, something that is at the core of each of us. Maybe even meeting it for the first time for a lot of people. I talk with a lot of people from religious backgrounds because of my involvement in the ex-Mormon community. And there are people 30s, 40s, 50s who I've never really met their erotic essence. And I'm telling everybody, it will change your life. It will change the way you interact with each one of your environments. It will change your friendships. It will change the way you look after yourself. You will look better because you've got a glow inside of you. And it will change. I mean, I'll just put this out there because I have a lot of listeners. I have 2 podcasts who want to have better relationships. Once you come to know your erotic essence, you will tend to attract more vibrant people. You will tend to want to enter into relationships with people who are more high vibe. You will often walk away from things that aren't right for you. And if you're following the pleasure and getting to know this part of yourself, your relationships with people who want the same things will be juicier and healthier. And
100%, 100%. What you were talking about, the ex-Mormon community and all of that actually leads us right into what my definition of erotic innocence is.
Okay. Oh, well, I like you taking the lead there, you energetic blueprinter. Please, I'm turning over.
I'm a little bit in my kinky, just like dominating a little bit, because what you said was so beautiful, and I want to speak to that part of your audience. And this speaks to like the mainstream judgments and constructs that we have around sex and eroticism and all of that. And erotic innocence, it's these words that came to me many, many years ago. And I was like, oh, what's that? I've never put those words together, right? So it's just kind of like this intuitive download that I knew was going to be part of my work, but I didn't know what it meant. And over the years, what I've discovered is that it's a way of approaching your eroticism and your sexuality with innocence and curiosity.
Oh, okay.
Untainted by whatever experiences you've had, whether it's a traumatic experience, whether it's a religious, I'm using this word lightly and not lightly, religious abusive experience, when I first started with pole dancing and S Factor, by someone in my family, I was told that this was not of God, and that there was something wrong with that, while simultaneously being told by my clients that the work that I was doing was of God.
Oh my God. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Ooh, I
So,
just said it.
you know, yeah. So to me, erotic innocence is about stripping away all of the conditioning and approaching your body from a place of total curiosity. Mm-hmm. If you see a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old who's just discovering that when they touch their penis in this way, it feels good, there's no shame in that. There's no shame. There's no judgment. The adult usually is like, oh, don't do that. You got to do that in private, you know? And so what if you could be aware of the conditioning with whether it's religion or culture or schooling or whatever, be aware of it, but not lead your life by it. Mm-hmm. And introduce the energy of curiosity, of wonder, of innocence, of like, oh, what's that? Oh, what if, and in partnership, let's just say, wow, what will happen if I touch my partner here? Oh, I wonder what'll happen if I touch my partner this way. You know, and obviously there's consent involved in those kinds of realms and conversations that can be had. But like even in the bedroom, like being curious about what would create pleasure instead of, well, if I touch you here, then this is going to happen, and then I touch you here, and that's going to happen, and then I go here, and hopefully that'll happen. Way,
and so I don't want to rock the boat or become uncomfortable having a certain conversation.
Yeah,
perhaps. This is something that came to mind is this is why some dom sub exploration, it can bring couples closer, because when you're doing it in, you know, the quote unquote right way, it's all about curiosity and innocence and surrender and trust.
Yes.
And I mean,
absolutely.
Trust really at its core has a lot of innocence to it.
Yeah. Well, it depends on, you know, for me, trust is built over time. Mm-hmm. And so you have to be willing to be present and aware with the truth that is available in that moment. You know, the flip side to innocence could be, you know, being gullible or not being aware, or just like being, you know, like not having
versus naivete.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So yes, trust is earned over time. And if we're talking about like a dom sub kind of relationship, then, you know, there's a specific container that needs to be set around that. There's specific things that create safety around that kind of container. I just want to name that for people that are listening, that, you know, in the kink world, for sure, that's a very specific world that requires a bit of education to play in it, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm writing notes. We're revisiting this as well. So yes, I think sexual exploration in general with a partner inherently can come with a feeling of innocence, because you're not really sure what's going to happen.
Yes, especially, you know, in the newness of a relationship when you're just getting to know each other. And what if you could bring that newness and that getting to know each other also 10 years into the relationship or 20 years into the relationship? Like, how would that shift? You know, you're relating with your partner, instead of just like assuming that you know everything about them already. What if you could approach that with curiosity and innocence? And for me, you know, I am a highly, highly energetic person. And sexual. I cackle. I do. And the erotic innocence comes into play for me because my turn on isn't the same as the sexual's turn on. Like it takes a long time for me to get to that hardcore up against the wall kind of energy, which I love, but it takes longer for me to get there. And my turn on, like, I am more turned on when my partner flirts with me from across the room than if he's really up in my face. Not that he does that, but that's just to give an example also of what I mean by erotic innocence. There's so many different ways to approach turn on and sex, that we just really have to expand the way that we view it. Even like for someone like me, an energetic, right? So an energetic is someone who can have orgasms without being touched. For an energetic, if you approach them too fast, too soon, they kind of fritz out. And, there is no turn on to be had. For an energetic, any time that anything has happened too fast, much faster than their nervous system can be with, then there's a disconnect, and then there's a stop, and then there can be an overwhelm. So if we can flirt for a few days, right, before we actually get into the bedroom, if we can, texting is a really cool way to start getting the energy flowing and going for that sexual encounter. That it's just energetics. We just need a lot of space and a lot of time and a lot of just like slowness. Right? Slow.
Why do they call it energetic then? Because if you're willing, I'd love to get this scheduled soon. I'm trying to learn. So for all of my listeners, one of my goals is to become a similar coach to Patty, where I help people learn about the erotic blueprints and their blueprint specifically. I want to work with single people, single women, and learning these things. And so, yeah, I guess I'm completely a student. Why do they then call it energetic?
Because it's about the energy, not the physical touching.
Okay.
Like I can feel my partner's penis inside of me before he even goes inside. It's actually better. Like energetic sex, right? Feeling that turn on and that orgasmic energy when there's a lot of space between us. It's more on the energetic realms, like that connection with the divine. And seeing the body as a temple, and for an energetic, like slowness and spaciousness, like if I just slow down my talking right now, right? We get all, oh my God, we get excited, and that's very sexual kind of bam, bam, in your face.
Well, and
kind
as
of
an
energy.
energetic, that's kind of in my mind what I'm picturing is this, like these more explosive sexual encounters, but you're saying that's not really what it is at all.
Yeah, well, all of them can be explosive encounters, but like the sexual, their explosive encounter is going to come from putting their body parts together. An energetic doesn't even have to be touched in order for that explosive energy. It's about the energy. It's in order for that explosive energy to come about.
A tantra can do. I want to learn how to have orgasms without being touched. For those who are curious, and I'll go into this much more on another episode, I am a sensual blueprint, which is very, very different. We're all about the tactile.
Yes, exactly. And the difference, so the sensual, with your senses, like it's about what looks good and what tastes good. Like that's really a turn on. Like my whole business in orgasmic living, I didn't realize it at the time until I started studying the blueprints. I was like, oh, my entire business is a sensual business, because it's all about finding pleasure in, what you're wearing and the smells that you're smelling and the food that you're eating and the sounds that you're listening to. Like I remember hearing this beautiful piece of music, and there was something about the like clarinet in that piece of music that was completely orgasmic, that when I was listening to the song, there was just something about it that just completely turned on my body. So again, this is about redefining what pleasure is, redefining what turn on is, and how it shows up.
Rediscovering yourself, which a lot of single listeners, not as many, got a lot of people in relationships, a lot of poly folk out there. hey.
Yeah.
But if you are single, this also rediscovery. And so, Patty, how can people learn what their blueprint is?
You can take the quiz through the Erotic Blueprints, and I highly recommend that everybody do that for sure.
You can get a PDF that is like 20 pages long about your blueprint.
I can give you a link if you want to put in the show notes so that people have access to that. For sure, take the quiz. Like that's, oh my gosh, so juicy.
You might
so
get
juicy.
as turned on as I am and get blueprints, Erotic Blueprints. What do you think? So yes, everyone, I really would love to hear from you. If you take the quiz, let me know what blueprint you are. This has got me so excited. I'm not sure if I told you, but it's actually on my vision board for the year is to get to the point where I can do or do this training. So thank you. Go and just look up the Erotic Blueprints quiz. Come and tell me what your results are. What do you think is one, maybe two ways that people can get in touch with this innocent side of their erotic nature?
Oh, what a beautiful question. It really depends on each person. But what I would recommend, first of all, adding fun back into your life.
Okay.
Do something that you've never done. Safety first, of course. Do something that would wake up that childlike wonder within you. So maybe it's, what I'm picturing now is like, go to one of those playgrounds, right? Where you can like jump in those
You read
balls.
my mind. You read my mind. And they have adult nights at places like that. I had this vision, this image in my mind of someone jumping on a trampoline. Because we had trampolines. That's how you would know someone was Mormon back where I'm from in Arizona is if they had a trampoline because we had so many kids. And I just remember that feeling of being on that trampoline, just bouncing and feeling free and just
think of
fun and also right
something
in your body too.
Yes. Think of something that you did when you were a kid that was so fun and activated that like kind of that just like excitement and wonder, and awaken that energy in your body first. Remember what that feels like. And then use that feeling, that body sensation to explore in your life other things that can activate that in your body again. And then if you're bringing this into, let's say you're bringing this into solo self-pleasure, right? So maybe instead of doing what always works in self-pleasure, what works, get curious with your own pleasure and your own body. And I invite you to find a place on your body that is very unusual and see if you can find pleasure there.
Ooh, unusual?
Yes, like maybe the back of the knee, right? Start stroking the back of the knee and see if you can find pleasure there. For some women, this little area here between your hand and your arm, right? Sure. See if you can find pleasure there. Like get curious with your own body about what is pleasurable instead of staying in the same rut of
get under the covers at night and before you roll over and go to sleep. Yes, touch yourself. And by that I don't mean to masturbate. I mean to just touch your body, run your fingers over your skin
and
just
notice
give yourself a minute to do this. And also something that I do, get a silky nightie. But I sleep naked, girl. But in like maybe an hour before I go to bed, I put on something silky. So I'm walking around my house and I'm tidying up, maybe having a drink before I go to bed, lounging around. And it feels good. It feels decadent. It makes me feel like kind of something special is going on, even though it's just me. Create moments in your day where you can feel physical pleasure on your own. And that's not genital.
I love that. First of all, that's such a sensual.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
That's such a sensual way of exploring. And I love that. So let's give something. So for the energetic, this could be something like sitting in stillness with your eyes closed and just feeling the movement that is alive in your body without doing anything.
Yeah,
right.
Thank you for saying this, because I'm sitting here saying this works, but it's what works for me.
And so now we have a sensual example from Janice. And so for a sexual, yes, sexuals go straight to the goods, whether it's your breast or your penis or your vulva, like go straight for it. That's the way the sexual likes it. And you can go for it and full permission to do that. And then for the kinky, really the way that we define kinky is anything that is taboo for you, right? And that is a wide range of what that might be. Kinky, like me, just walking around naked in my apartment, that's kinky.
Okay. For me, I've been doing that since
Exactly. For some people,
my first place, I am like,
yeah, I love it. For some people, kinky is just anything except missionary position. That's kinky for them. And for other people, right, we know what's on the other end of that spectrum. So find something that just feels slightly taboo for you, with safety and consent and being present and aware and taking care of yourself, and maybe do that. And approach all of these different ways with complete curiosity to see what it will create for your body. That's erotic innocence. Exploring your eroticism with just, wow, what will this feel like? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, I did like that. Oh, no, I didn't like that. You're just gathering information.
With intention, I think. And another reason I want to get into this is so many people are going through the motions day in and day out and just trying to get their responsibilities met and trying to take care of others, and some living with a lot of pain inside and bad memories and loneliness. And this can be one way to overcome all of that and to add a level of meaningfulness to your days that you didn't know was available to you, and you can access it. And if you're listening to this right now, it means that you are curious. It means that you are seeking a different way of doing things, because I'm very open that that's what this show is about. And so you're in the right place. You've taken the right step, and Patty is here to support you and taking that even further. Please go and look her up. And I'd really like to do more content on this. I think an episode where we maybe spend 10 minutes going into each of the blueprints would be really useful. I know that they do that on some podcasts, but and maybe it could be a longer episode, maybe like a 2-part episode, perhaps. I know it took us a long time to just get to this one episode. But
that's okay. We're here now and we're ready to go. So nothing can stop us now.
Yeah, we are here, and I'm feeling good energy from this. Before we wrap up, and this also could be its own episode, so I hope it's okay that I'm kind of throwing it in at the end, but I have got to know, and curious people have got to know, what is an erotic priestess and what's going on with your initiation, girl?
So pretty much a lot of what I've spoken about in this episode is being an erotic priestess. I think it's, erotic priestesses existed in our time before the patriarchy came about. And the erotic priestess is all about bringing people back home to their bodies and enjoying their bodies and experiencing life through and with their bodies as a way to experience their whole existence. It's a weaving of the sensual and the sexual and the sacred all into one, without judgment, right? Our current, religious constructs, there's a lot of judgment around the energy of sexuality and the energy of sex and all of that. And so erotic priestessing is about removing that judgment and being in that energy. And as an erotic priestess, for me, it's about the healing that is available with that energy and the healing that is available in working with clients in this way. I have been in this world, many lifetimes, not going to lie, many lifetimes. And about a year ago, I started diving into, the world of the high priestess, and I did some work with that. And right now I'm initiating into the 13 Moon Mystery School, which I'm super excited about. And I've been working in that for, also about a year. And honestly, it's something that I've always been that I didn't know I was until I discovered, oh, that's what I've been doing. Just like with orgasmic living. And then I found the Erotic Blueprints and I was like, oh, orgasmic living is like the sensual. It's what I've been doing my whole life. I've always had great reverence and love for the human body and the beauty of the body and the magic of the body and what's available with the body. So erotic priestessing is really just the next step in the healing, I think, not just individually, but collectively. Changing the way that people interact with their bodies and feel about their bodies is super important to me because, one of my mentors, she says, your body is the greatest roller coaster ride you've ever been on. And I think that is absolutely true because so much is available with your body when you are really with it, creating in this life. This whole planet is for these bodies. If you didn't have a body, you would not need food. You would not need clothes. You would not need a car. You would not need a house. If you didn't have a body, you would not need any of those things.
So wouldn't it be so fun? And we don't get to be pretty if we don't have bodies.
Yeah. Hello. So that's pretty much. But this whole episode has been erotic priestessing at its finest.
More questions, and thank you for your connection and answering my little questions about my business and as I go along and giving me little bits of support and motivation. But most of all, at least for today in this moment, thank you for everything that you've shared with my listeners. This is the gift that you have as an erotic priestess and having all of this knowledge is that you get to share it with others. I mean, that's really the whole point of it is to help others access the same level of joy and pleasure that 100%. You have.
100%. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the universe
Woo-hoo,
for allowing Patty and I to do this episode. Thank you for helping or allowing me to find her on Facebook. And I'm looking forward to more connection, possibly more collaboration. Yeah. Thank you to everyone who listened today. Please go find me on Instagram. Hit up my new website. I'm loving my virtual life right now. Things are just juicy. So go look at janiceformichella.com. Please go to Instagram if you have a dating query. If you have a sex query, maybe Patty and I can answer it for you. If you liked this episode, I always say, if you liked this episode, go and let me know. Take it a step further by leaving me a review on Apple Podcasts. And if you didn't like it, keep it to yourself.
I love that.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Patty, so much. And I'll see everybody next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Sex and the Solo Girl with Janice Formichella, the podcast for those who want to add more flavor to their relationships with themselves and others. If you liked today's episode, make sure to head over to Instagram and let her know. See you next week.